Silence is often misunderstood. People assume that being silent means being passive, that not responding means you've accepted defeat, that not arguing means you have nothing to say. But the truth is, silence is one of the greatest forms of power a person can possess. It's restraint in a world addicted to reaction. It's strength disguised as stillness. It's the calm presence that doesn't need noise to prove authority. When you learn to stay silent, not because you're afraid, but because you're in control, you begin to understand what real maturity feels like. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you free yourself from one of the heaviest burdens a human can carry, the need for validation. Every time you respond to someone who's only trying to provoke you, you hand over your peace in exchange for their chaos. And the more you try to prove your point to people who don't listen, the more you lose connection with your own truth. Silence protects you from that. It's the invisible armor that shields your energy, your dignity, and your focus. There's a difference between being silent because you have nothing to say and being silent because you've realized words won't change anything. When you reach that understanding, you stop wasting energy trying to be heard in places that were never meant to understand you. You start realizing that your silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. It communicates self-control. It communicates intelligence. It communicates that you've evolved past the need to participate in meaningless conflict. People often mistake silence for weakness because they don't see the storm you're holding back. They can't comprehend the discipline it takes to remain still when everything inside you wants to react. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, anyone can let anger lead. But it takes a deeply grounded person to remain calm in the face of provocation. Silence isn't the absence of strength, it's the highest form of it. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need the world's approval to validate their truth. When you choose silence, you shift from reacting emotionally to responding consciously. You stop letting every comment, every opinion, every criticism pull you off course. Instead, you become deliberate, measured, intentional. You begin to see how silence changes the energy of a room. When you stop defending yourself, people start wondering why. They start questioning their own words. Silence creates space for reflection not only in you, but in others. Think about it. The people who make the biggest impact rarely speak the most. They speak when it matters. They observe. They listen. They study. Because silence gives birth to clarity, and clarity gives birth to wisdom. When you're silent, you see things others miss. You notice patterns, motives, and truths that are invisible to the loud and distracted. You grow from every experience instead of reacting to it. And eventually, your silence begins to speak for you through your progress, your peace, and your presence. When you master silence, you stop chasing attention. You stop trying to prove who you are. You no longer need to announce your worth. It radiates naturally. Silence becomes your strength, and self-control becomes your power. You realize that you don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to correct every misconception, and you don't have to prove your value to anyone. Because when you truly know yourself, you understand that silence isn't an absence of voice. It's a declaration of self-respect. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood, choose to be the one who is grounded, calm, and unshaken. Let your silence remind people that power doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it simply breathes steady, unbothered, and untouchable. There comes a point in life when you realize not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every opinion requires your response. And not every person deserves access to your peace. You begin to understand that energy is not infinite, it's precious. It's the very fuel that drives your growth, your focus, and your purpose. Yet, too many people waste that energy on meaningless debates, empty exchanges, and people who only seek to drain, not understand. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival, it's wisdom, it's emotional maturity. You see, the world is full of noise, people arguing just to be right, talking just to be heard, reacting just to feel relevant. But if you listen closely, most of it leads nowhere. It's empty. And if you engage in every meaningless conversation, you become part of the noise yourself. You trade your clarity for chaos. You allow the distractions of others to blur your own vision. The truth is, you don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to explain your choices to people who are never going to understand them. You don't owe anyone your time simply because they demand your attention. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you begin to rise. You start protecting what matters: your focus, your peace, and your sense of direction. Because every time you argue with someone who only wants to win, you lose something greater, your inner stillness. Protecting your energy means walking away, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. It's the quiet realization that you don't need to prove your growth, you just need to live it. Some conversations are traps. They're designed to pull you back into old versions of yourself, the reactive, defensive, easily provoked version. But when you've grown, when you've truly evolved, you no longer fall for it. You pause, you breathe. You let silence do the talking. You understand that your peace is too expensive to spend on people who find comfort in conflict. When you protect your energy, you begin to see how much of your life improves simply because you refuse to engage in nonsense. There's strength in restraint. There's power in knowing when to walk away. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolation, it means discernment. It means learning who deserves your words and who deserves your silence. It means recognizing that your voice carries weight, and not everyone has earned the right to hear it. You start realizing that your growth intimidates those who haven't faced themselves yet. They'll try to pull you back with drama, provoke you with words, and question your calm because your peace reflects their chaos. But your job is not to shrink to their level. Your job is to rise above it. Protecting your energy also means protecting your mind. Every conversation you engage in plants something: a thought, a feeling, a belief. Be mindful of what you allow to take root. Some people speak from pain, others from ego, few from wisdom. Learn to tell the difference. The more you protect your energy, the more you attract those who speak life into you, who challenge you without tearing you down, who help you grow instead of drain your spirit. That's how peace expands through selective connection. So, stop pouring your energy into emptiness. Stop explaining your worth to people determined not to see it. Stop losing yourself in noise that adds no meaning to your path. Your silence will say what words never could. Your calm will reveal your strength, and your peace, guarded and preserved, will become the loudest statement you'll ever make. Because not every conversation deserves your voice, but your energy will always deserve your protection. Growth doesn't always look glamorous. It doesn't happen under bright lights or in front of an audience waiting to applaud you. Real growth happens quietly behind closed doors, in moments of solitude, in the space where no one is watching and no one is praising you. It's not about showing the world how much you've changed. It's about actually changing. The truth is, the most powerful transformations happen in private. That's where you face your habits, your fears, and your weaknesses without filters or masks. That's where you start rebuilding yourself piece by piece, not for attention, but for alignment. When you step back from the noise of the world, you finally hear the honest voice within you. It's uncomfortable at first, because it confronts you with everything you've ignored: the excuses, the doubts, the unresolved pain. But that's where the work begins. Growth is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it looks like sitting in silence, questioning your patterns, forgiving your past, and choosing discipline when no one's forcing you. Those are the moments that shape you. The small, unseen battles that define who you become when the lights come back on. People love to celebrate the results, the success, the transformation, the confidence, but what they don't see is the quiet grind that built it. The long nights of reflection, the mornings where motivation didn't come but discipline did. The countless times you chose peace over chaos, restraint over reaction, and consistency over comfort. Growth is not a performance. It's a private agreement between who you are and who you're determined to become. And that agreement doesn't require witnesses, it requires commitment. When you grow in private, you learn to rely on yourself. You stop needing validation from others to feel progress. You begin to trust your own process. The opinions of others start losing their power because you realize that no one else is living your story. You become grounded in your purpose, not distracted by noise, not swayed by comparison. You begin to appreciate stillness because that's where clarity lies. You no longer chase recognition, you chase alignment. You stop performing improvement and start embodying it. There's something sacred about private growth. It builds quiet confidence. You don't need to announce your healing. People feel it. You don't need to post your progress. It speaks through your energy. You don't have to prove you've changed. Your presence says it all. And that's the beauty of growing in silence. It allows your evolution to be authentic, free from the pressure of expectation or judgment. The moment you stop trying to convince others of your growth becomes real. Privacy is not secrecy, it's protection. When you protect your growth, you're safeguarding your peace from outside influence. Not everyone deserves access to your process because not everyone will understand it. Some will doubt you, some will mock you, and some will project their fears onto your journey. But you'll learn that you don't need their approval to keep moving forward. Growth is personal. It's between you and your purpose, you and your creator, you and your truth. So stay quiet. Stay focused. Let your results speak when the time is right. Don't rush to show the world the seeds you've planted. Let them take root. Let them grow in the dark, where strength is built and resilience is born. Because one day, when those seeds break through the surface, they'll speak for you in a way words never could. Growth doesn't need to be witnessed to be real. It only needs to be lived. And the most powerful version of you will always be the one built in silence. There comes a point in your life when you realize that words are cheap, and reactions are even cheaper. Anyone can speak, anyone can argue, anyone can make promises, but very few can follow through. The world is full of people trying to prove something through noise, through anger, through endless explanations. Yet, what truly defines a person is not how they react in the moment, but how they act over time. When you let your actions speak louder than your reactions, you step into a higher level of discipline, one where self-control replaces impulse, and purpose replaces pride. Most people react because they want to be seen. They want the last word, the final say, the visible victory. But that need for constant validation only exposes insecurity. The truly grounded individual doesn't waste time reacting to every insult, misunderstanding, or moment of provocation. They're too focused on building, they're too focused on becoming. Because they understand something powerful, reactions are temporary, but actions are permanent. Reactions fade with emotion, but actions leave a legacy. You don't need to respond to everything that challenges you. Sometimes silence and steady progress are the greatest answers you can give. When someone doubts you, don't argue, just keep working. When someone tries to bring you down, don't retaliate, rise higher. When someone questions your worth, don't explain it, embody it. Every action you take in the right direction is a message to the world that speaks far louder than any defense you could ever make. When you learn to channel your emotions into consistent action instead of reactive behavior, you begin to notice a shift. You stop wasting energy on proving people wrong and start investing it in becoming right for yourself. That shift changes everything. Because while others are busy talking about what they'll do, you're quietly doing it. And when the results appear, when your life starts reflecting the work you've been putting in, there's nothing left to say. Your actions become undeniable evidence. It's easy to let pride pull you into meaningless conflict. It's tempting to react when you feel misunderstood or underestimated. But that's where growth truly tests you, in the moments where you could explode, but choose restraint instead. It's not weakness to hold back, it's wisdom. It's knowing that every time you react, you hand power to someone else. And every time you stay focused and move forward, you take it back. The most powerful people are not those who can shout the loudest, but those who can remain calm when the world expects chaos. Over time, you'll realize that your consistency speaks volumes. People start noticing not what you said, but what you built. They remember how you carried yourself, not how you argued. They respect your discipline, not your defense. Because actions build credibility, reactions only build noise, and noise fades, but credibility lasts. When you live this way, you stop chasing recognition and start attracting it naturally. You no longer need to tell people who you are. They can see it in what you do, in how you carry yourself, in the life you're creating. So, don't waste your energy trying to control how people perceive you. Let your work define you. Let your patience prove your strength. Let your persistence become your voice. Every quiet step you take forward becomes a statement of power, of focus, of purpose. And one day when people look back, they won't remember how loudly you reacted. They'll remember how steadily you acted. Because in the end, it's not the noise that leaves a legacy. It's the work done in silence, the calm perseverance, and the relentless commitment that make your life speak louder than words ever could. When you finally allow yourself to be silent, something remarkable happens. You start hearing again. Not the noise of the world, not the constant chatter of others, but the quiet voice within you that you've been drowning out for years. Most people don't realize how much they've lost touch with themselves because they're surrounded by distraction. The phone never stops buzzing, opinions never stop pouring in, and thoughts never get a chance to rest. But silence, true silence, strips all that away. It takes you back to the center of your being, where truth lives, where intuition whispers, and where clarity begins to grow. It's in silence that you start to notice what you've been ignoring, the pain you've been suppressing, the dreams you've been postponing, the signs life has been trying to show you all along. Noise makes it easy to run from yourself. Silence forces you to face yourself. And while that may sound uncomfortable, it's also deeply freeing. Because once you stop running, you start healing. You start understanding. You start connecting the dots between who you are, what you've endured, and what you truly want out of life. The world teaches us to stay busy, to fill every gap with sound, to never stop talking. But silence teaches you something the world never will. It teaches you to listen, not just to others, but to life itself. You begin to see how much wisdom there is in stillness. You start understanding that every answer you've been searching for out, there has been waiting quietly inside you. But you can't hear it when your mind is loud. You can't find it when your heart is constantly interrupted. When you sit in silence, you start to notice patterns in your thoughts, your emotions, your choices. You begin to recognize what drains you and what restores you. You realize that some of the things you've been chasing weren't even yours to begin with. They were expectations you inherited, not dreams you chose. Silence becomes your compass. It guides you back to what's real. It reminds you of what truly matters, not status, not validation, not approval, but peace, purpose, and alignment. People often confuse silence with emptiness, but silence isn't empty, it's full. It's full of awareness, full of truth, full of answers that noise has been keeping from you. And when you learn to be comfortable with it, You stop seeking external validation because you've built an internal foundation. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself because you understand yourself. That's the beauty of silence. It brings you back to authenticity. It clears the fog of confusion and helps you see your path with fresh eyes. In the quiet, you'll start noticing the simple things again, the sound of your own breathing, the rhythm of your thoughts, the beauty in the ordinary. You'll feel life again, not just live it. Silence reconnects you with the present moment, and in that presence, you rediscover gratitude. You begin to appreciate how much power there is in stillness, how much wisdom sits quietly beneath the surface of every chaotic moment. The truth is, silence doesn't just help you hear, it helps you see. It opens your eyes to what truly deserves your energy, your time, and your love. It makes you realize that peace is not found in more noise, but in less. And once you've experienced the clarity that silence brings, you stop craving distraction. You stop filling voids with noise. You start protecting your quiet moments as sacred, because they are. So, stop running from the silence. Sit with it. Let it teach you, shape you, and strengthen you. Because in that stillness, you will hear the voice of your deepest truth. And once you do, you'll never allow the world's noise to drown it out again. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop explaining yourself, when you no longer feel the need to justify your choices, your silence, your growth, or your distance. You begin to understand that the people meant to understand you never needed an explanation in the first place. And the ones demanding it, they were never truly listening, only judging. There's freedom in realizing that you don't owe the world an explanation for who you've become. Your life, your decisions, your healing, they're not public property. They're sacred. And when you stop trying to make everyone see your perspective, you start living from a place of quiet confidence rather than anxious approval. For a long time, you might have felt like you had to prove your intentions to make people see your heart, to convince them you were genuine, good, or worthy. You might have twisted yourself into someone unrecognizable just to be understood. But that kind of living slowly kills your spirit. It keeps you small, trapped in a cycle of seeking permission to exist. True strength begins the moment you decide that your peace is more important than being understood. When you stop explaining, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop handing out pieces of yourself to people who haven't earned the right to hold them. The truth is, explanation is often a sign of insecurity. It's what we do when we haven't fully accepted ourselves yet. We explain to gain approval, to escape judgment, to feel safe. But once you've done the inner work, once you've sat in silence, faced your truth, and accepted who you are, something changes. You no longer feel the need to defend your decisions. You simply act in alignment with them. You no longer try to make everyone like you because you've learned to like yourself. And that kind of self-acceptance radiates in a way words never could. When you reach this level of clarity, people might call you distant, detached, or mysterious. But it's not detachment, it's peace. It's the peace of someone who no longer needs external validation to feel complete. You are not cold, you're calm. You're not ignoring anyone. You're protecting yourself. And those who are truly meant to walk beside you will understand that without you having to say a word. Because they'll see it in your composure, in your decisions, in the quiet confidence that defines you. You learn that explaining yourself rarely changes anything. People who want to misunderstand you will do it no matter how much you talk. They'll twist your words to fit their story. But when you stay silent and consistent, when your actions align with your values, something powerful happens. The truth reveals itself. Time becomes your voice, results become your proof. You stop arguing and start evolving. You stop explaining and start embodying. This doesn't mean you stop communicating. It means you communicate differently. You speak through how you carry yourself, how you treat others, how you live. Your boundaries become clear without confrontation. Your choices become statements without speeches. You realize that the people who genuinely respect you will never demand explanations. They'll simply observe and trust your journey. So let them wonder, let them talk, let them assume whatever they need to. You don't need to correct every rumor or justify every decision. Your responsibility is not to be understood, it's to be authentic. And authenticity doesn't argue, it simply exists. The more you grow, the less you explain. Because the more you know who you are, the less you need the world to confirm it. You don't owe anyone a map of your evolution. You owe yourself the peace of living it. So move quietly, live honestly, and let your presence do the explaining. Because in the end, the person who no longer needs to explain is the one who has finally found freedom. In the end, this entire journey, focusing on yourself and staying silent, isn't about cutting the world off. It's about tuning yourself back in. It's about reclaiming your energy from the noise, from the endless explanations, from the battles that don't deserve your voice. When you learn to stay silent, not out of fear but out of strength, you begin to see life with sharper clarity. You start hearing your intuition again. You start growing not for recognition, but for alignment. And slowly, the chaos of the outside world loses its power over you because peace becomes your foundation, not your reward. The truth is, silence is not emptiness, it's elevation. It's the language of those who have outgrown the need to prove. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop wasting words on things that don't matter, you rise above the noise that once consumed you. You begin to understand that growth is something you live, not something you announce. And in that stillness, you discover something profound, that the quietest people often carry the loudest power. So focus inward, guard your peace, let your silence speak your strength, let your actions echo your purpose. And become the kind of person whose presence says everything words never could. Because when you master the art of silence, you don't just gain control, you gain yourself.